Kia ora, and welcome to today's Gospel reflection for Tuesday, 7th July. A reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 9, verses 32 to 39. A demoniac who was mute was brought to him, and when the demon had been cast out, the one who had been mute spoke, and the crowds were amazed and said, "Never has anything like this been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "By the ruler of the demons, he casts out the demons." Then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness. When Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." This 9th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew continues the narrative about Jesus' public ministry in Galilee. He has been ministering to the people, working miracles, traveling through their towns and villages in the area, preaching the gospel, and healing every disease. His words about sheep without a shepherd reflect the prayer of Moses, who asked God to appoint a leader to succeed him, so that the Israelites on their Exodus journey would not be like sheep without a shepherd. Jesus uses the same image of the sheep and the shepherd in Luke's Gospel. This incident in the narrative of Jesus' public ministry continues in the next chapter of Matthew, Matthew chapter 10, where Jesus gives to his 12 disciples authority to cast out unclean spirits and to heal every disease. He also instructed them to gather the lost sheep of the house of Israel and to proclaim the good news. The same instruction Jesus gives to us today. When speaking recently of laboring in the Lord's harvest, Pope Francis described this call as sometimes going against the tide and also encountering obstacles outside ourselves and within ourselves. He said that we must have good soil in our hearts so that on hearing and living the words of Jesus, we may bear fruit. It is the gift of our baptism that makes missionaries of all of us. We are all called to be disciples, to put our unique gifts to work in the Lord's harvest. Put another way, in the words of an old saying, we must bloom where we are planted.